Also, the BFB review still ain't coming by.
What is that?
Your words, and you're gonna eat them right now!
Oh hey! I exist again. In January of 2010, a little show called Bfdi appeared up on YouTube and was a decent hit with its charming writing and likable characters. And after its first season concluded, it already left its mark on the platform and created a whole community around its premise. And due to this, a second season dubbed Bfdi was created a few months afterwards, then shafted after like 5 episodes.
Oops.
Then, 4 years later, another possible season dubbed IDFB comes in and fans now optimistic of the future of the show. And that got shafted too.
Oops.
But in its wake comes this 2 season of the show dubbed Battle for Bfdi. And for some reason, this was the season that blew it with it still releasing new episodes and boosting the stats of the creators and the official community. But why is that? Why, out of all the seasons, this was the one to elevate the whole community? I've been sort of asking this question for a good while now and want to know all the fuss is about this seemingly simple season. But you know, maybe it's about time I look at the show with a critical lens and finally figure that out. So yeah, let's do this!
Let's play a game. I love games.
Now, when it comes to the show's premise, it's nothing that extraordinary. It's a typical some contestants battled out for a prize. It's what 2 seasons did, so why stop now? But hey, the premise is mainly the structure of the season. So how does it mix it up? Well, a new location is a good place to start. Unlike the first 2 seasons, with them taking place in the Grassy Void, this season tries to spice it up by adding things to the Grassy Void to give it some character. Sure, the show never really utilizes these things, but changing scenery is always nice. And something the show does that I could really appreciate that they add new locations for challenges. Not only does that keep the challenges from being stale looking and having them set in a singular location, but it also adds some memorability to the show and has to stand out from its kin. And something that also helps it stand out is its writing. It's often simple for the majority of it, but later on, it does try to take itself more seriously and tries to give the character some more layers. Speaking of which, one major flaw of the writing is the runtime of earlier episodes. You see, the show's a character-driven one, so giving each character screen time helps keep them interesting and memorable. But due to the large side of the show's cast, that's often an issue the show runs to. The episodes spend a little too much time on how these characters do the challenges rather than on developing them. And due to the eliminations being at the beginning, this leads to minimal character interaction at the start of each episode, often leading to rushed character development, but more on that later. I didn't really take notice of this problem until the newer episodes started to double the length, and I started to see each character get both screen time and stuff to do. The balance in these episodes of the characters doing the challenge while also having them breathe is noticeably better when the runtime offers breathing room. And while the writing may have gotten better, the humor always stayed the same quality, and I mean that in the best way. The interactions between characters have stayed as witty as ever, and jokes themselves have a playful smartness to them that has been in most seasons of the show. It's kind of become their style. The jokes that usually tend to get me are the back and forth between certain characters and the remarks they will give each other, the smart jokes I mentioned prior as well as the dumb ones from time to time, and the references / fan service from returnees, which I'm always a sucker of. However, jokes that don't get me are the random / current jokes.
Rock, paper, or scissors, and whoever silently farts the most air out while playing wins.
Oh wait, we're not last? Whew, damn it, my boyonoceros.
Check the airflow!
Woody, you're a genius!
The premise may be standard and the writing takes a while to get going, but the jokes, new locations, and the writing later episodes help elevate this show to truly make it memorable.
Well, I love you! I love all of you! You guys are so amazing! I can't wait to get to meet all of you!
Be quiet, Leafy, you're not helping.
Oh boy, here we come to the show's primary gimmick. And it's one I have very mixed feelings about. A large cast usually turns me off greatly from any kind of TPR or object show, as it usually means that either the episode length is longer to accommodate for this, or most of the cast is forgettable and not developed. And in a character-driven show, this is usually a major flaw, as you want the majority of your cast to play a part in the show, or to be developed at least somewhat. And this leads to the show's biggest issue, its cast. Now I understand with a large cast of characters, it's very hard to make them all memorable, and having some be left to the wayside is understandable. That's fine for a silly show like this, but the issue rises in just how many characters are left undeveloped. I struggle to remember 3/4 of the cast here, as most of them are given so little or nothing to make them stand out. A good bunch of them doesn't get so much as a line per episode early on, due to the runtime not being able to withstand the size. That leaves me forgetting some characters leaving the show at all. Like, I only just remember that characters like Rocky, Fiery Jr., Eddie, or even the show in the first place. Now, I'm not saying the entire cast is forgettable. I do enjoy a good handful of them when they're on screen, and this doesn't limit to just the returnees. I find characters like Bottle, Tree, and Black Hole to be fairly entertaining, and Donut, Ping, Coiny, Flower, Golf Ball, and Bubble were all majorly improved upon, and were given new things to do. But those good punches don't make up for the majority of contestants of the show, or that are not given much to work with. Again, I understand how making 64 semi contestants all memorable is a fool's errand, and I don't blame the creators for not having all of them leave an impact. But this will always be an issue of a character-driven show with a large cast, and it's very noticeable with this one. Having the entire cast be forgettable isn't the only problem. Another one is that development some do get in certain episodes are either pushed aside, have rushed conclusions, or just completely forgotten about entirely. Example of this can be found in Bubble trying to be more assertive in episode 1, not being really focused on until like episode 8, Mach trying to manage the alliance after the press is eliminated, and whole Leafy and Fiery conflict resolution which lasted from the beginning of Bfdi all the way to the most recent episode as of writing this. And Foldy avenging Snapey in episode 11 when he was eliminated in episode 9. And this doesn't even mention the plotlines that are completely scrapped or never mentioned again, like Foldy and Switch's kinda rivalry and Barkbag and Lollipop's rivalry. Again, I don't fault the writers here too much, since in these cases, I couldn't really find a spot to fit development to these that would feel natural or flow with the episode. But it's still a majorly distracting issue for me that also seems to pop up every time they occur. And finally, I can move on to the characters I liked and didn't. Like I mentioned before, Flower, Golf Ball, Pan, and Donut were all majorly improved this season. Flower went from a psychopathic maniac to sort of sympathetic as she tries to redeem herself and shows some positive qualities that the first season never really gave. I always enjoy her seeing that she's still a jerk, but she's shown to try to be better. I can appreciate that. Golf Ball, without given too much development, was much more entertaining and was given more characters to bounce back off of than in other seasons. She's always been an entertaining character, and this season continues that, but also tries to give her some development. It ain't much, but I do see the attempts, and I can appreciate it. Pim was already getting some great development BFDIA, and this season continues to follow that trend for friendship with Coiny, gets only strengthened upon, and given some really sweet moments. I also like how we see her insecurities get mentioned, and her slow, gradual rise to get over them. It's something that the previous season was hinting at, and I'm so glad they continued it here. And speaking of last season, Donut was not a character I was expecting to love more when coming to the season. But not only was he given more character traits and a lot more screen time, but he was given much more to do here. His interactions with his team are simultaneously sweet and hilarious, and him as a host was a ton of fun with irritable but kind nature. His interactions here were better here than in last season, and he was the biggest surprise. So many errors, Now for the characters I didn't like. First off, there's Pencil and Leafy, who I dislike for similar reasons. Their personality completely flips. Now, I'm not saying Pencil wasn't necessarily my favorite character in BFDIA, but she was still a sort of compassionate leader who only resorts to violence moderately. But in this season, they switched it over to a dictator who kills anyone who she considers an enemy. Now, that wouldn't be that big of an issue if it was sort of hinted earlier on, which in some cases it was, but never to this degree. And while yes, you could say it's still in character of her in BFDIA, but even there, she never really took this much enjoyment in torturing people, and she was still kind to the members of her alliance. Here, they exaggerated traits from last season too much just to get rid of her quickly. And as for Leafy, she went through a similar development, but only in the earlier episodes. Let me explain. In episode 1, she seemed to be back to her original season 1 self, which I found to be a nice return to form. Admittedly, I never found a character to be that entertaining earlier episodes of BFDI, but I will give them credit for sticking to their roots and not having her continue her bossy or flip-flop. It's episode 2, huh? What the hell happened here? She went from a very compassionate person to this unsympathetic chief who hurts those she considers useless. Unlike with Pencil's derailment, where a sort of character of her and evolves kind of naturally from how she was last season, this one comes smack dab out of nowhere, was given no hints in the episodes prior, is out of character, and was a forced reason for her to get eliminated. And it's not even that entertaining to watch. I understand trying to give her character flaws to flesh her out, but the flaws given here don't stick to her character and aren't fleshed out or have any noticeable signs last episode. I will admit though, she did get better as she returned. She was able to keep her whole personality again, for better or for worse, and managed to actually get her arc with Fiery going somewhere, which is refreshing to see after 2 seasons of nothing. But still, her characterization in episode 2 was a bad one, left a sour taste of the character as a whole. Then lastly, there is Book. I feel very conflicted about how to treat her character here. For one, unlike Leafy, the flaws they gave her here are actually to her original personality, and she does have some traits being untrusting to others due to her alliance kinda ditching her. And she was tolerable for a couple of episodes that kept her original character when it came to the bomb with Ice Cube. However, I still don't like how they handle rivalry with Taco. First off, The interactions between the two are very samey, and the rivalry ultimately goes nowhere for the majority of these episodes thus far. Each interaction goes as follows. Taco does an action she disagrees with, such as dipping the challenge or ditching the team when it was a body switching challenge. She complains, and the others either follow suit or get annoyed. Not only does the interaction get stale quick, but it's also very predictable because we know no matter what Taco says or does, even if it's just breathing, Book will find some way to complain about it. And that leads to problem number 2. Her accusations get very annoying, as we know already Taco didn't do the thing she's accusing, so Book's constant nagging and complaining get more annoying the more it continues. But on the other hand, I do appreciate how in episode 13, they try to actually go somewhere to her character and have her acknowledge how she was in past episodes. I also like her sacrifice in episode 14, as it shows some possible hints of growth in their relationship. So overall, I feel like the conflict she went through was poor, but I do see the promise of her character moving forward. Overall, the contestants this season were too large and forgettable, with some great and pretty bad standouts in the mix.
No more Screechy, please! Yeah, sounds totally reasonable, Dora. Can do.
In this section, I'll be taking a look at the show's pros and cons. Let's start with the pros here. Well, for one, the animation in the show is fantastic. While it originally turned me off when I first saw it looked very sloppy and inconsistent, the animation quickly started to grow on me as the episode went on. While it may be a huge departure from previous seasons, the style managed to find its footing pretty quickly. The simple doodle-like limbs and expressions really have the characters let loose and frolic about in much more exaggerated ways than ever before. And as each episode passed, it only started to get better and better. It gets a lot more fluid, lively, and very expressive, and I really do enjoy it. Another aspect of the show I really like are the action scenes. These happen from time to time in every challenge, and they're always a treat to watch. Examples like the fork chase in episode 4 or flower cap in episode 11 are very stylized and, for lack of a better term, hype as hell. The energy and speed of these scenes help keep me invested while pretty planned challenges. I also love the lighting and colors in the show in certain scenes. The show has some pretty damn beautiful backgrounds, colors, and lighting effects at times, and they're always a feast for my face. I also really enjoy the aesthetic of this show. The simple but lineless backgrounds, the color palette of characters, backgrounds, and lighting in certain scenes are also really pleasing and can help keep me entertained throughout. Though the animation can be very inconsistent at times how fluid it can get, especially in the first few episodes, it does get more and more fluid and consistent, with some obvious animation differences here and there. One other problem I give the show is that it really does try a ton of new things later on. Now, I haven't really been paying attention to the newest object shows as of late, but from what I can remember back when I was starting out in 2015, the shows I watched really tried to stick out and all really felt the same in structure and writing. And when the show started, it already caught my attention with its new style, simpler writing, and larger cast. But still, I couldn't help but feeling the structure of the show was way too similar to Bfdi's. Starting with opening scene that leads to an intro, elimination occurs, challenge starts, yada yada, scene again and again. But then, as the series went on, it slowly started adding new elements I haven't seen much of, like the host switching from character to character and a new setting for eliminating contestants. But by episodes 12 to 13, we get to notice little changes to the structure of the characters I really appreciate. The episode length got longer, giving room to develop new arcs, patch out old arcs, and resolve conflicts not yet fixed. Not only that, but it began to add new locations like the underground and house, but also keep changing the landscape completely. This gives the episode some fresh new set pieces and adds something new to expect it to show up, while also giving way for new locations for new and exciting challenges. Speaking of which, they added new stakes in episode 13 and 14's challenge. This leaves the characters having much more of a incentive to compete, but also has some time to chillax and interact with each other. This is a refreshing balance I'm a huge fan of. Another great addition to the season added was new hosts that aren't speaker box variant or non-existent. The hosts this season, being X and 4, are a nice and entertaining addition. I love how blunt and agitated 4 can get while also keeping the same goofy voice and expressions. His interactions with the contestants are a blast to watch and a nice contrast to the previous hosts. 4 also has these ambiguous powers that add some new ways to bring contestants back, running jokes at visually interesting locations. X acts as a yin to 4's yang. He has his cute and naive attitude when around 4 can get some time to shine on by himself. I like how, unlike other shows, the co-host has just as much screen time as the host himself, and gets the time to be the host for more than just one episode. I just wish he got a tad more development when becoming the host, because when 4 came back, he kind of continues to be his old self. This isn't actually a bad thing for me, but I wish I could see a bit more assertiveness for him, or a moment where he stands up for himself when 4 yelled at him or something. Another thing I found confusing is that when 4 did come back, it's only had these moments of them acting like friends, even though 4 was kind of acting like a jerk to X in the earlier episodes.
I'm for break and flake!
Don't you mean cake and steak?
Well, I'm not the one who doesn't know their value. Contested.
I'm back!
Nobody noticed you were gone.
3,254 votes! I mean, we got 20,255 votes!
You did BFB while I was gone! Good job! Incorrect. X may be plummeting to the depths of the underworld, but X is just looking for his treasure. I can't let that happen because I must be X's only treasure.
Would you like another juice box, 4?
You're gonna switch to 2, so 2, aren't you, X?
Well, 4, it's hard to...
Go! Just go!
Maybe it's for the time when he was evaporated, you got to appreciate him more. But his uncleanness towards him could have been a bit more explained and fleshed out. Well, I wouldn't say exactly pandering to the shippers or anything. It does seem like different time to time, but these little qualms aren't enough to diminish how much I love these two and what new things they add to the table. One problem I had in Bfdi is the tone is way too bitter. The characters seem so spiteful and mean compared to last, and unlike Bfdi, there's not many characters to contrast this apart from Woe Bunch. While it's funny at times, yes, it wasn't balanced very well at all, especially in episode 5. But in this season, they managed to find a great balance between sour and sweet moments. Well, yes, the characters can still have bitter towards each other, it's nowhere near as prevalent between teams. This is captured through the team dynamics with Death Pact, Beef, and Losers containing the heart and wholesomeness, while Bookstein and Vernon and Knack get the spice needed to balance each other out. Even how bittersweet moments between the cast are balanced very well, and overall gives this show the charm of Season 1 had. And finally, there's some nice character moments in the show. While not as prevalent as other shows of its kin, yeah, they do have are nice and sweet. Moments like Fortnite's body switching into Pawn Scene are sweet and playful, while moments like the conversation between Pin and Coiny and Eraser convincing Belle are laid back and add some great depth to the series. Well, these aren't in big doses to say Namus Sanity 2 or... It's still nice to see from time to time. Now for the cons. I don't have much to note here since the big ones were already covered in the character section, but I still have a couple to mention here. The first one, however, is tough to explain. So in the show, you have some references to previous seasons sprinkled in some scenes. Some of them for jokes, or for continuity nods. Now, having that in and of itself isn't the issue I have, because I always get a kick when shows reference previous episodes. My issue comes in when a show wants to reference some events of previous seasons, but ignore others that can use an explanation. You know how after the finale, how everyone was chasing down Leafy and she went to Yale Island? Well, the show sure doesn't. What it means is they'll go over parts of that with Fire and Leafy dynamic through the season, but won't give an explanation on how the others are okay with being around her all of a sudden. Because the BFDIA, many cats were angry enough to chase her and want her dead. But in the third season, not only is she just there with the others, even though she was on an island that was pretty far away from them, but was generally accepted, not called out or mentioned at all. The only two that seem to know this are Needle and Fiery, and this is only brought up in episode 15. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they mentioned it at some point, but I still like an explanation of how the rest of the cast are so adamant about her being there, even though they still seem to have beef with her, especially with Pin, who tried to murder and freeze her. Or minor moments like his explanation that I would personally like would be the museum scene of Golf Ball and IDFB, how they escaped from Yellow Island, and how Pin got her color back. Again, he's not that big of a flaw in this season. I just find it weird to show a reference some events from previous seasons, yet ignore to explain others. Lastly, there are some sudden character developments or moments that come out of nowhere. For one, there's Leslie's reveal in her elimination. So, in her team, she was, I guess, the complainer or assertive one, so she was voted out. And during this, she suddenly decides now to reveal that off-screen, she saved 2,753 lives. Now, this isn't a huge flaw, but it baffles me the show would guilt people who voted her while reviewing something they would have never noticed because it was not shown clearly in the previous point that she saved any kind of lives, let alone 2,000.
I thought you guys would support me.
You two
Step back.
didn't do anything.
Not a big of an issue that she is a minor character and the scene's quite minor in the show, but it's still one that has my head scratching. Other scenes like this I mentioned before, like mentioned sudden change but kind of being empathetic to the Alliance, to this rough lead in episode 8 without any smooth transition, and the rivalry between Foldy and Light Switch. Again, these are minor flaws compared to the ones I mentioned in the character section, and this might be the smallest con section in the reviews thus far. I still think it should be mentioned, as it did bother me quite a bit.
Alodahan is safe. No mercy for Ions.
In conclusion, I find this show to be a slow one for me to get into. Its running early on is quite clunky at times, and the huge cast / new characters still have a bit of an impact on me, apart from the hosts. However, it's one that does get better with later episodes that has a lot to appreciate. I would recommend this show to anyone who's fantasy type of shows, but chances are, you guys have already seen it. So I give the show recommendations to people who are in the mood for something simple and pleasing to look at. That's how I found enjoyment in it, and who knows, maybe that's how you'll find enjoyment in it too. This is Alodahan. Look forward to my next review. I'll go 1 TPI that soars in quality, Levy's Total Pokemon World Tour. See you then.